welcome to another edition of Extra Butter. Everybody make some noise! Yeah, leading with the hype because only 2 new movies opening this weekend, both of which are awesome. It's the story of a father just trying to make his way back. Hey, oddly, that works for both movies, but right now I'm talking about the animated movie from Pixar, Onward, starring Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. Yeah, they'll be dropping by. Also, it's the story of a father trying to make his way back. That's when I'm talking about The Way Back, starring Ben Affleck. This movie is remarkable. It's infinitely better than you might even think it is. We'll be talking to Ben and the cast next on this edition of Extra Butter! Yes. Hey, guys.
Hey.
How's it going?
I had some popcorn coming out, so I kind of said, hi, guys.
That's not your normal voice?
Not my normal voice. Hey, she travels around the world. It's world famous Kelly Savannah Eaton, everybody.
Kelly Savannah Eaton. Hi, guys.
And back with us again, it's Mikey
wow.
Winfield.
Wow, the E's in the middle. Do it.
This is a rare treat because he's either having lunch, dinner, breakfast, brunch with Kevin Hart,
True.
or you're on a cruise ship.
Rumors.
Hey, let's talk about movies. There are 2 movies opening up this weekend, both of which are great. Now, I make no secret about it. I don't know much of sports. I'm not a big sports guy, right?
Yeah.
However, with that said, I will tell you that not only a great basketball movie is headed your way, but just a great movie altogether in the form of The Way Back.
Yes, Ben Affleck. It's pretty amazing how someone could be so vulnerable and raw, because this movie parallels his life in so many ways with the alcoholism, the addiction problems, and for him to go ahead and just expel all of that into his creative psyche to make this movie is pretty remarkable.
Yeah,
I think vulnerable is the word. I think he's a very relatable person in so many ways. And I think to open that up in the performance in the movie, you're touched.
For the last 2 years, he's been pretty buttoned down about all of this. But have you noticed the last 6 weeks, he's been out, like it's all on the table, everything.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite press runs, when a guy's just spilling the beans.
And just being real, not those like, his publicist is probably like, but it's good. It's good to see him. It pairs well with the movie when he's so honest.
With that, I have some personal connections and history with Ben Affleck. I caught up with some of his amazing cast members and Ben in a high school gym to talk about it. You know, for once, I started prepping for an interview, and I sat down and I looked and I thought, 23 years I've been sitting down with you like this.
What was the first thing that you
I was your first interview, first on deck for Good Will Hunting.
Wow.
About 15 blocks from where we are right now.
Oh, wow, that's wild. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
And I'll be talking to you guys in 23 years about the same thing.
Look forward to it.
Well, they're both very talented guys. I wouldn't be surprised in one bit. I hope they give me a job.
We should all be so blessed. I'll tell you why it's so important to me, because crashing in my room that entire year of 1997, crashing in my room was my best friend Joe Carnahan. He would sell scripts, try to get his first movie launched in New York and LA, and he'd beat the streets while I'm in talking to the likes of you.
I love Joe. He's a good guy. I love doing Smoking Aces with him, and he's one of the biggest, he's just an enthusiastic director. Like, he's such a supporter. You feel so kind of like taken care of with Joe, and everybody who works with him loves him.
Yeah, it's passion in a bottle. Fast forward, so on the set of A-Team, he had Bradley Cooper in that movie, and he was the first person to impress upon me that sober's better, and I'm 4 years sober now in front of him.
Is that right?
And alcohol put me behind bars, so you can only imagine how much this movie is speaking to me right now.
Well, congratulations, 4 years, that's pretty good.
Well, congratulations to you, and I thank all of you for being in a project that, from the get-go, is so transparent. This is more than a movie. It doesn't hit the sports cliches, it doesn't hit the addiction cliches, it transcends that, and the way you guys are talking about all of this is so important.
Yeah, I think I would hate to see like a cliched addiction movie. I think any alcoholic or addict, like, they're the last people that want to see some sort of like predictable, preachy story. It was important to me that it be honest, real, and that it subvert those expectations, both as a sports movie where you expect, okay, now this is going to happen, and as a movie about addiction, which have kind of classic tropes that you've come to expect. And this movie resists those in a way that I think makes it more satisfying because it makes it feel more real.
Yeah, the movie, if you haven't guessed, is about a high school coach, and so we decided to have the setting of that interview in a high school gym on the basketball court. I do know Gavin O'Connor, who directed this film, knows a lot about sports with the MMA and Warrior and some of the other movies he's done. He really connects the sports to the cinematography. I, however, talked to him about Ben Affleck, and going into this movie knowing that Ben was going into rehab at the same time.
Wow.
What's beautiful about it, I'm a producer as well, and so I've been the liaison between that element and the financiers when something's going wrong. And you have been that, is fully transparent, and amen to him for being so fully transparent. Kudos to him throughout this whole process. But that's happening right as you're in pre-production on this.
You mean Ben's going to rehab?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I introduced Ben and Brad, the writer. The three of us met, and then like 2 days later, I'm texting Ben, I'm calling, and like for a couple of days I got nothing, and that's not. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then he was just out of contact for a couple of days, and then we all read what happened. So I didn't know if this was all going to come to an end, a screeching halt or not. And then, with the studio, who was great and supportive and allowed me to go up to rehab and sit down with Ben and kind of figure out, is there a way to do this now that you're. And it was actually a blessing, because now he's in rehab, he's working on his recovery, and he would get furloughs every day with a sober buddy to come meet with me, and we do our work. He'd meet with the kids, we do our work on the court, and then he would go back. And then right when he got out of rehab was our first day of principal.
Yeah, I know we're early in the year. That guy's not a stranger to Academy Award nomination. I think you might see another Academy Award nomination for Gavin O'Connor for this film. And
Yeah, I
great
believe
actors
it.
in this movie.
Actors, actresses, the women. We gotta talk. Did you even talk to them?
I did, because where would his character be without his sister and his ex-wife?
Yep.
For reasons you'll know once you see the movie. I sit down with them next. Welcome back. It is Extra Butter. Thanks for hanging out, talking about two great movies that are opening up this weekend. If you didn't see our interview with Ben Affleck and the cast, by all means, like and subscribe on YouTube, Extra Butter TV. You might already be there, but
You should be there.
I love how transparent he's being about this movie, where he plays a coach that's suffering from addiction to alcohol, while at the same time trying to get these guys a state championship.
Yeah, I like a human basketball coach movie. By that I mean a guy with real flaws.
Yeah.
A human, a person, and we see them walk into the situation and attempt to overcome it.
Yeah, it's funny, you're talking about the character, but at the same time, couldn't we be saying the same thing about Ben Affleck? I like a really open, flawed Ben Affleck. The fact that he's admitting to I've never seen an actor quite as cracked open as he is right now.
He is wide open and talking about everything I think that he's been neglecting to talk about all this time, but I think he's ready to take that next step, just like you said, just in the movie, same thing.
Exactly. Supporting this movie from his ex-wife. Wait, did I just plot spoil?
No, Janina Gavankar. She's an amazing actress.
Right, I think the trailer tells you that they're not doing really well when the movie opens up.
Or you just gave away everything, but
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
okay.
His sister's Michaela Watkins. I like her.
Yes.
She was in Brittany Runs a Marathon.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's big with the sports.
And the movie takes place in a high school, so I talked to him in a high school. Take a look. If I really delve into this movie, I'm going to start bawling. This
Fine
movie,
with it. Bring it on. Bring on the
touched
tears.
me. Look, I sit here not in judgment. I'm a guy, I did time. I was behind bars because of alcoholism and making bad choices.
Wow.
And then to see a movie like this, where there was probably a time in my life where if a buddy came to me and said, watch this movie, think about it, it probably would have made me make some better choices.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Don't you think this might be more than a movie?
I mean,
Well,
yeah,
one would hope so.
I definitely, I mean, Ben is an amazing actor, and so his characters, for some reason, beyond just being like, oh wow, he did such a great portrayal of that character, he does this thing that like movie stars get to do, which is like he lifts it and expands it and then gives it to you, and it's like now it's yours, and like inspires people. It's just very strange.
There's so many great scenes for you. The lunch scene specifically, because it's not like the pinnacle of the movie at any point, but there's so much that starts to change in you in that you really have to delve into. So
Yeah, I mean, that is a woman who has to courageously tell the man she really loves that she's moving on and seeing somebody else, even though she doesn't want to, because she knows it's what's best for her. So I'm proud to be able to play somebody who is strong enough to make sure she's okay.
those ladies are intense and awesome, and intense and awesome in the movie too. I can't tell you enough how much I love this movie. And you guys might think, well, maybe because I have personal connection to former problems with the bottle, Maybe it's my love of basketball. No, it's not that.
It's your love of Ben Affleck.
A love of Ben Affleck. I don't know, but this movie is under my skin, and I'm telling you, you will love it too. Go see The Way Back.
It's not preachy.
That's what I'm
huge.
talking about.
A
It's
lot
not
of
preachy.
people don't want to see this movie because they think it's going to be very preachy, but it is not at all.
That's right. This guy is preachy.
Yes, I am.
What do you preach about?
I don't know what I'm preaching about.
All right, I got a movie for you and the nephew coming up in a minute. You've got to. If you are a loving uncle, you got to take the kids to go see Onward. This movie is remarkable. Again, like all Pixar movies, starts out dark and goes to a happy place. We'll talk about it with the cast. Chris Pratt and Spider-Man's Tom Holland next. Hey, welcome back to Extra Butter. We just got through talking about The Way Back on This Weekend, where two of the new movies are both awesome movies, very different movies. The Way Back with Ben Affleck, sports drama. Now we got this, Onward, the latest creation from Pixar Animation Studios.
Yes, and what an unusual approach.
Right?
If you've read the premise for the film.
Yeah, let them know. What's it about,
Yeah,
Mike? For those who don't know.
It's like two relatives, two kids. They're going to
Elf brothers.
Two elf brothers are
Yes.
going to get magic. They finding out if there's magic left in the world so they can bring back their deceased dad.
That hasn't been done before.
No, and that's what I like. Movies that have not been made.
Yeah, and it covers a topic that usually is not covered in kids' movies,
No.
but I think it's good because it teaches kids a lesson.
Pixar Animation Studios in Emeryville, historically the most Academy Award winning studio by ratio on the planet. If you think they're picture to wins, they seem to know what they're doing.
A little bit.
Would you say that they have a formula?
I'd say so. I think so.
Yeah, they do. They do. They have a start off unhappy and go on a journey to
happy.
reach happy.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's
happiness.
kind of what you get with this movie. The movie is set in a fantastical world where all of the fantasy
Unicorns.
creatures, unicorns, dwarfs, elves, such as the brothers, played by Tom
Pratt.
Holland and Chris Pratt. I sat down with Dan Scanlon, and you might say, where does Pixar get these ideas? Well, this was kind of born from Dan Scallion's real life and recent loss of a parent, and I sat down with the producer.
Kori Rae. Yes, she produced Incredibles and Monsters, Inc.
Exactly. We talked. Take a look. I take great pride and kind of ownership in Pixar because it's in my backyard, so I consider it my movie studio, by the way.
Cool.
And this one does not disappoint. I've been there for almost every theatrical open ever of any Pixar movie since they put the first brick down. And I can tell you now, just move all of those Oscars down just a little bit because there's room for one more, and this will be it, I guarantee you.
Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
thank you.
So talk about the genesis. This story is so unique, and I love what was the very first moment that launched it.
Well, it's based on a personal story. Like the boys in the movie, my brother and I lost our dad when we were really, really young. We don't remember him at all, but we always wondered how we were like him. And that question began the journey that was Onward.
Exactly. It was just kind of talking about personal experiences, and Dan started talking about that part of his life and how he and his brother were affected by it and how it affected them throughout their life. And we thought, okay, there's something there. Because, in the best cases, a small personal story can also become a universal story.
Sure.
So that's what we were going for.
Yes, I lost my dad when I was younger and didn't remember that much, but then my older brothers, and there was a little bit of jealousy because they got to know him, and so I'm always looking at
Right.
him, and so I so related to that, and then my sons are the same ages of these characters, and I'm thinking, how is it that I'm relating to all of these characters that are woven into this fantasy world like this so humanely?
Well, what's been interesting is people who don't necessarily have brothers or have or even sisters, people who have a friend who was there for them, or finding those connections amongst other people has been really cool.
Yeah, it's very gratifying.
You know, I walked out of the theater last night and started calling people, and I feel like I may have done it injustice because I'm going, I just saw it. It's such a great movie. They're going, we don't want to be heartbroken. I said, no, you don't understand. This movie is so hopeful. It kind of leaves you explaining. It explains the life passage and what it all means, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also fun and funny. I mean, I think there's an adventure to be had throughout the movie, and hopefully people are laughing and having a good time too. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's got unicorns that are eating out of garbage cans. So hopefully it has something for everybody.
And these two nobodies that you get as leads in this Tom Holland and Chris Pratt, I think there's hope for them.
Yeah.
They've got chops.
They do. It was so fun working with them. They're, again, they're who you'd hope they'd be.
They are awesome. They got another hit on their hand with this movie, Onward. That's the producer-writer of the film. I'm always, anytime I'm in front of those guys, I think, I should pitch them their next film.
Yeah, right.
So, okay, you're in front of them right now. What would you pitch?
Now? Oh, I got an incredible idea. So it's a car, right? The car's broken down.
Yeah.
The car's sad, unhappy, not being used at all.
Okay.
Car.
Right.
Okay.
But by the end of it, what needs to happen is this car wants to enter the big race.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Like
Excuse
Herbie?
me, I'm down on the front row. I know where you're going with this. Isn't that technically Cars, the movie they already made?
I missed it.
I know.
Exactly, right.
What about like there's an older guy and
Yeah.
a balloon and the house and he floats
What's
away?
the house? That's a great idea. Then I'm going to pitch them about a fish that can't remember anything, played by Ellen DeGeneres. There. All right, moving on. Coming up in a moment, the whole reason you showed up today, the stars of the show. Star-Lord's Chris Pratt coming up in a moment, and Spider-Man's
Tom Holland.
There we go.
next. Hey, welcome back, and thanks for hanging out with us on this edition of Extra Butter. Awesome Pixar animated movie that we're talking about right now with the world famous Kelly Savannah Deaton and the world famous comedian extraordinaire Mikey Winfield.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, so
And?
hi, I'm Marcus Allen. Thanks for hanging out. All right, so I was so excited about this movie, and they said, do you want to sit down with Chris Pratt and Tom Holland? Because sometimes you don't get to talk to the biggest stars of the movie. In this case, we did.
Yeah, right. When you're that enthusiastic about a film, do you feel like walking in, you might embarrass yourself at all?
I kind of did. I pretty much walked in and started to sob and said, let's hug it out.
Oh man, at least you didn't say let's hug it out and then show me your foot fetish.
I don't have
Oh,
a foot
no.
fetish. That's a
Did you
dated-
not ask Tom Holland?
No, and by the
to
way, in case
show-
that's the most random thing. Now we have to show video of it.
Oh,
The
yeah.
first time I interviewed Tom Holland, he showed me what was only hours old, a tattoo that he had gotten on the bottom of his foot.
Exactly. Case in point. Case closed.
All right, stay on target. Stay on target. This time I had an agenda. I had something locked and loaded going into that room.
Aren't you friends with Chris Pratt's brother,
Yes,
Cully Pratt?
Okay.
exactly that. Cully
Good.
Pratt up in Northern California, Solano County Sheriff PIO. I had him locked on FaceTime to
Wow.
give nothing but love and attention to Tom Holland. Take a look.
Amazing.
Our first interview for the movie, right
Well, I
here.
haven't seen it yet,
Oh
so
my-
forgive me.
kind of pressure. It's your first interview. What if I screw things up?
No, you won't. You got this.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll
Guys.
see.
Just seeing the two of you together, I want to
Yes.
reach over and hug both of you.
Do it.
My son. Okay. All right.
Let's go.
All right. Here we go.
Get it in.
Here we go.
go.
Here we go, bud. And I'll tell you why. Because my sons are the exact same ages of these characters.
Oh,
And the relationship not too dissimilar.
that's so nice.
Nice.
That's amazing. I have a brother. You have brothers.
Yes.
This is a film very much about brotherhood, and it's really, really beautiful. And I think that anyone who has a brother, and even if you just have a sibling or in a relationship at all, but there's a specific relationship between brothers that this movie speaks to.
Yeah. And you've got like 50 brothers, don't you?
Yeah, I got a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So did it, when you get the script dropped in your lap and you're thinking, not only do I want to do this, I get this guy.
It was interesting for me actually because I'm the oldest brother of all four of us, so it was quite nice for me to have an older brother. Like it was a bit of a change of pace for me to suddenly like switch from being the one who's supposed to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Which actually in many cases is not the case. My brother Harry is really kind of the oldest brother.
Oh, okay.
Without him, we're like his sheep and he is the shepherd. But it was nice to like flip this around and to actually be the younger brother for a change.
I loved it, and I agree. If you have brothers, sure, it's going to touch you that way, but I think if you have a pulse, this movie is going to make you laugh and cry relentlessly
thanks,
throughout.
Absolutely.
We
I'm
put it
so
out there.
excited to see it, man.
We said viewer questions, if you have any viewer questions. So we have this guy that
Oh, wow.
has a viewer
Oh, that's
question.
my brother.
Wait, go ahead. Go.
Hey.
Hold on, you blew the gag.
Oh.
Go ahead, sir.
Hey, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Tom Holland, you are like my favorite Avenger. I'm just freaking out right now.
Is that actually your brother?
That's literally my brother.
And this is just the coolest thing in the world. That's Spider-Man. I can't believe... Wait a minute, I thought that was Chris Hemsworth was your brother in the movie.
I was
Chris
hoping it was
Pratt.
Chris Hemsworth, but we got Chris Pratt instead, which is also
I was
good.
so excited because it was my two favorite Avengers, Spider-Man and Thor.
And Thor.
But I mean, it makes sense, you know.
This is amazing.
All right, the gag is blown. So now, since I have brother to brother, what's the best thing about your brother, Chris Pratt?
That he knows Tom Holland, right?
Easy
Wait, no.
Onward with Tom Holland. That's pretty awesome.
Way to stay on target. All right, say some good things about your brother. What do you
For
share?
me to say this, I'll say this movie Cully, I cannot wait for you to see this movie. Just like Dan, who directed and wrote it, it's like a love letter to his older brother. This movie is going to, I'm telling you, you know how like Radio Flyer makes you cry your eyes out? This movie is designed, I honestly feel like my life is a simulation, and this movie was made to make you cry. So I cannot wait for you to see this movie. It's absolutely a love letter to this guy's older brother.
You want to know what, man? I can't say enough about how proud I am about you. And one day you'll be in a position where you could get me into a movie, maybe about being brothers or something.
Yeah.
All right, so
That
Cully,
is so awesome.
before we wrap things up, tell me one of the best rogue adventures that you've had with your brother.
Best rogue adventure I ever had with my brother is hands down by far. We went on a road trip with my dad, and we took him all the way across the country. We didn't know what we were doing, but we made it happen, man. And I'll remember that forever.
Yeah.
And it was pretty incredible. And all joking aside, man, I could not be more proud of you. And
Thank you.
nice to meet you, Tom.
Oh, I mean-
Mark, thanks for everything. And Solano County Sheriff's Office, we are hiring.
There we go. Nice block, pal.
Hey, it's
Thanks for
lovely
your
to meet you,
service.
man.
Thanks for your service, sir.
Love you,
Good
Cully. I'll
to
talk to you later. That was great.
That
man.
was so
Thanks,
awesome, man.
You know what I just realized? Based on Mikey Winfield's summary of the Pixar formula, they just did that in the course of that interview. Did you notice?
Wow, it was. It started that way and it ended that way.
I was trying to get goofy with them, and then all of a sudden they started talking about brothers. This movie transcends this. This is about familial love and also about, just kind of getting over loss. You are going to shed a tear, I'm telling you right now, as you do with just about every Pixar movie, but I recommend it. Go see it.
It was a lot better than I thought, and I cried almost the entire time. So go see it.
Mike E.
Holding in tears, holding them in, holding them in, holding them in.
Yeah, I'm saying, hang in there, go see the movie. Make sure you see it with people you love or have them close, because you're going to huddle up at the end of this movie. Mikey Winfield, where do we find your upcoming shows?
You know what? Go to MikeWinfield.com right now and find everything. Everything.
There you
Yeah,
go.
feelings, thoughts,
And again,
everything.
floral prints.
Yes, we did.
Follow
Yes,
her
we
all
did.
over the world on Instagram, Kelly Savannah Deaton.
Savannah Deaton.
There you go. I'm at TV Mark S. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Extra Butter TV. Have a good time. See ya. Be good.
So you're saying we should apply the Pixar to ourselves?
Yes.
The Pixar formula?
Yeah.